Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Blazecasting presentation. Bring you guys another game from the Dota 2 Staff Cup. We have here Beyond the Summit going up against Crab Team, which is composed of European managers. So I'm going to be casting by myself. Rainmaker is going to, eat some dinner and check out another. He's doing an amateur tournament or whatever. So I'm going to be coming with solo, but that's fine by me. We're pretty comfortable with that environment there. So this will be some interesting games. Honestly, the Beyond the Summit was really fun as far as the last game they played. Very dynamic, really powerful laning, but this time they are swapping out Gods, who was playing under McDreamy, I believe, as his screen name, is going to be replaced by Pyrian Flax. So we'll see how that works out in a much more high-pressure environment, going up against just a powerhouse team of the European managers here, because honestly, the game that I casted for them, Markelov, really solid play all across the board. Just put out the pressure, was able to offlane effectively with planks, and then just deliver so much damage. Actually became practically a #1 as far as how much he farmed, how much he killed. He was just really essential for how they played that game towards the end, especially. So they're going to be starting the draft off pretty aggressively. Starting off with a Chen and an Undying. That's kind of interesting as far as how they want to go from there. They just don't want to have to worry about that lane presence specifically. The Undying you have to draft against with like a gyrocopter or anything that can burn down the zombies pretty effectively. Otherwise you have to really respect that cooldown of the Tombstone and just be, okay, well, we have to back off from this position here. We could get a kill, but we'll probably lose 2 or 3 people if we try to stick around and fight up against these ever-amassing just set of zombies that continue to go on through. So looks like everything's good. As far as Nyx Assassin and Magnus bans, it's pretty just standard stuff. In this metagame, Spike Carapace and Impale both very powerful cooldowns, and the Magnus being such a great initiator. But it leaves Darkseer on the board, and I think Crab Team is debating whether or not they want to pick him up. Because if they pick up a Rubik and a Darkseer, it pretty much means that you have to watch out for any AoE spell that you cast. Because if you steal even a Stormbolt, not to mention just a Black Hole, but just something simple like a Stormbolt or an Ice Path, it could be amazing with a vacuum. But they're going to go with rounding out their lanes a little bit more, going for the Rubik and the Chaos Knight to really make sure that they have a powerful kind of support carry combo. A Chaos Knight doesn't necessarily have to be played as a #1 prioritization as far as farm goes. Could just be going for, gank-tastic, relying on that 4-second stun potential, and go on through with a lot of damage, a lot of disable, and just wreak a lot of havoc. And so there's a couple of different ways you can lane him in that regard. You could go for a very aggressive mid-roll up against the Batrider, go 2 versus 1, and try to shut him down that way. Or they could go for just a standard 3-1-1 in either the aggressive or the defensive tri-lane. Both Rubik and Chaos Knight excel in both, and with that, they'll make sure that the Chaos Knight will be able to get some good farm, either heroes or creeps. I mean, one way or another, he's happy as long as he's getting enough gold to fuel his stats. If you can get an armlet or something like that, the strength goes directly to his illusions, which scale 100%, 1-to-1 as far as damage goes, and 50% as far as durability. But Beyond the Summit has plenty of different opportunities to answer back, and we'll have to see what they kind of want to go with here. Keeper Light, always a great pickup. With Nyx Assassin off the board, you don't really have to worry about those pesky Spike Carapaces going up against your Illuminate. Instead, you'll be able to counter push and push aggressively. I also really love the AoE aspect of going up against the CK and his Phantasms. I already talked about the fact that they dish out a lot of damage. Now you're looking at the Illuminate. It does provide a large amount of AoE, actually some of the best in the game if you can get that full 5-second channel. So with that, you can do up to 500 magic damage and burn down the Phantasms if they have, let's say 800. If it's 800 HP Chaos Knight, not going to be able to do very much at all as far as survivability. It's going to completely wipe them out. But they're also going with the Lifestealer, which is a solid pickup in many regards. One of the best things is Rubik doesn't get much out of spell stealing against him. Like some carries like a Sven, like I said, Stormbolt, great. But you steal a Rage, okay, you're got a half a BKB for Rubik. That's pretty cool, but it's not going to be game breaking. And so with that, I think the Lifestealer pickup is a very safe pick. They ran it on Bruno last time around, and it was very potent. Going with an aggressive tri-lane, they went with the Lifestealer, Keeper Light, and I'm trying to recall the last one. It wasn't a Disruptor, was it? No, it couldn't have been. But at one way or another, they did really well with the Keeper Light, the Lifestealer, and I think they went into the Visage. So we'll have to see if the Visage gets banned out by Crab Team if they happen to be watching the last time around. But for the time being, it's a Queen of Pain that's going to get banned out, expecting that the Batrider might be going in a different lane than the mid, or they just want to make sure that the Queen of Pain can't offlane. Either way, something they don't want to have to deal with, because again, powerhouse AoE damage is something that's really effective against Chaos Knight and the Darkseer's Wall of Replica. So that's something that they're going to take off the board there, but all in all, they're going to have to deal with whatever Beyond the Summit picks up. Like I said, Visage is probably going to be the choice, but the one thing was Gods was playing that. And, of course, seeing as he's been replaced by Pyrian, I don't know if he's at the same exact skill level to micro that as effectively. That might be the understatement of the century, but nevertheless, So, still excited about whatever they draft up next. Maybe picking up a Sand King or something simple just to make sure Pyrion can be relevant at all stages of the game, pretty much. But, yeah, got to keep in mind that Darkseer is on the board. That vacuum so powerful for setting up a good team fight. And a lot of people underestimate this, but Rubik, if he ranks up to rank 4 Telekinesis, going for that 1.75 second stun duration of when it comes on down and hits everybody, you vacuum underneath that and get that big stun off. That will set you up to do what you need to do and deliver a world of hurt. Obviously, Lifestealer relatively unaffected there, but you can just burst him down pretty hard with CK and his quite large amount of damage output. So that's going to be pretty cool. But other bands coming out, we do have the Wisp and the TA. Wisp is just a really powerful support to help out the Chaos Knight. Being able to tether him up, take him wherever he needs to go, it's just ganking time all over the place, and eliminating that global presence is going to be very helpful to make sure that Crab Team doesn't get too powerful too quickly once that Wisp hits 6. Templar Assassin is just a solid pick because Rubik is generally run as a support rather than solo mid anymore, so it's just a pretty good mid band that you won't necessarily have to worry about a Templar Assassin melding out and just striking down your Coddle or Bat Rider and just knocking them down really quickly. But all in all, like I said, Crab Team's lineup, they could go for a dual mid. Go for 2-2-1, Darkseer up top, Rubik and Chaos Knight, or Leshrac or Lich. I mean, plenty of different options. They can chain up with the CK to be very effective. So I expect a Lesh or Lina to be the next pickup, based on the fact that they just have so much potential, not only with CK and Rubik, based on the delay of the stuns that they provide, sets up the Split Earth or the Lightstrike Array, but also with Darkseer, providing that vacuum to set them up for damage. So I guarantee Leshrac or Lina is going to be what's on their mind, and probably what they pick up right off the bat. But we do see a Sand King. That was kind of what I was thinking there. Pyrion definitely going to pick that up just because it's a really fun hero for him to play. He just kind of uses that as a favorite. If he can get up to like level 3, level 5, that Burrow Strike will be potent enough for him to be able to get some pretty good stuns off. Hopefully get some doubles or triples even, and that could really set up their team for quite a bit of success there. However, you got to remember the Rubik can spell steal that Epicenter and throw it right back in the enemy's direction with a good vacuum if they get the right gap closer or just a Blink Dagger on Rubik. So we'll see. Beyond that, hard to say. Like I said, Lina and Leshrac, I think, are going to be one of those two. You can't get both for this kind of lineup, but one of those two should be what Crab Team looks at for this next pickup here. But they also have to look at picking up their mid, and they want to control that. Again, 2-2-1, that changes things, but if they're going for a 3-1-1 setup with Darkseer on either the safe lane solo or the off lane, they're going to need a tri-lane of the Lina, but they're going to go with Benno. I mean, Benno's CK is very, very strong, don't get me wrong at all. You go with the Gale, you have a powerful stun to combine with that, it's just hard to get out of it. And so heroes like Bat Rider, who rely so much on kind of outmaneuvering the opponent with that kind of napalm stack, they're going to have a hard time going up against this. So I like that pick in general. I don't know, and it's not really a counterpick to Sand King, but it just shows that yeah, if they can get the mech on Benno, they're not really afraid of what comes next. So you combine the fact that Darkseer will probably rush a Pipe of Insight, and the fact that Nullfield can be eventually ranked up by Rubik. He won't get the experience right off the bat, but all in all, the Nullfield will provide much more durability for the entire team, going up against things like the Epicenter, the Illuminate, Firefly, so on and so forth. So one thing to mention about Pipe of Insight, when DS presumably rushes that it does its absorption post-mitigation, which means that 400 damage block actually comes up towards like 600 and 600 plus, so 650 or something. That depends on who you're talking about here, but that Nullfield makes it much more effective. But I love the bounty pickup. I think that's exactly what Beyond the Summit needs to keep their momentum rolling and kind of transition in towards the late game Lifestealer. If they can get Bounty Hunter to even just decent level, if they can get him to track level and get a couple picks here and there, what he does is make it so that even if there's an even exchange of heroes, even if you kill 2 people on one side and 2 on the other, you're actually going to be able to come out on top just from the sheer track gold that's going to be on the board. But Markaloff going to pick up the Shadow Fiend. Not sure how they're going to lane him, but holy crap, is that a powerful pick if they do what I think they're going to do with it. So I think they could run the Darkseer on the mid lane. Let's see who is picking up which heroes just for a second here. So, from what we see, and I will change one thing on my overlay real quick before we get on into it.
Everybody gets set.
That right there. But yeah, what we're looking at here, Inmate is going to be going on the bottom lane for the time being with that Salve and Stout Shield. Could be kind of like a jungle-oriented build, but I don't think that's really what they want to do to make sure the lanes are powerful enough to do exactly what they intend. Anyways, either way, Markaloff has plenty of HP to start off with, and Breaks the Dex Place is going to play supportive as well. So it's definitely going to be Rubik and Benno on the support. The question is where Markaloff will be farming, staying with the CK. and they could do it in a number of different ways, but I think 2-2-1 is going to be the best bet. Rubik and Benno, or sorry, Chaos Knight and Benno, and then Rubik and Shadow Fiend. You can easily get double raise off with the telekinesis, and actually triple raise if you move him in the right position, now that I think about it, because you can always start off with the E, move in forward for the W while he's in the air, and then pull him towards you for the Q. If you don't know too much about Shadow Fiend, don't worry about it. It's just a very powerful combo as far as raises and positioning control, so that could be pretty nice. But right off the bat, we do see Batrider going for a Bottle Rush, 350, but I believe he's going to have a hard time on this lane. The Magic Stick is going to be great against the Napalm, and I think Lalka, who I believe is Doja from Virtus Pro as far as managers go, but as he's changed his name, it's hard to say. Either way, him and Drunken are going to be very, very effective on this lane here.
And they're off.
I love what they've done with Bounty Hunter. Look at the items and look who bought them for him. A Cyborg Mat, Observer Wards, Pyrian Flax, Tangos, another Salve from Cyborg, and his own Clarity. So all he purchased was a Poor Man's Shield and Clarity, but that sets him up so greatly for this bottom lane to survive as best he can. As far as Sentry Wards go, it does look like Break the Desk Please was able to pick up a couple of sentries, and the question is, will he try to make sure that he can use that spawn effectively, or will he go for more than that, beyond that? So we do see interesting little graphical thing with the Haste Rune combined with Napalm, making him kind of think twice about a couple different things, but for the time being, no easy camp will spawn based on Bounty Hunter's positioning, who's that Pokemon, making sure that the Drunken cannot go for the easy camp stack right off the bat, which is rather effective, right, to start things out, but in the end, not going to make too much of a difference. And it does look like Inmate is going to abandon the top lane. So Inmate is not going to be worrying about going 1v3. He's just going to go for some nice easy creeps with this Ion Shell. Bounty Hunter, now no longer in Invis. Who's that Pokemon going to have to fall back? And I believe that's Winter. Again, I haven't gotten too much replies as far as in the lobby who is who, but that is just my estimation based on him picking up the heroes he has. He's been going on the off lane, both on the Lone Druid and now on the Bounty Hunter here. P-Flax, supporting up Bruno. He is going to leech a little bit of experience, but that's not too bad on the Sand King. His Burrow Strike rank 1 is kind of pitiful as far as range goes, 350, but ranking it up to rank 2 or rank 3 at levels 3 and 5 respectively, that's going to allow the Sand King to actually roam around, gank up aggressively, and make sure that that Illuminate will get off and get some damage there. So I think it's a pretty good combo, but unfortunately it does mean that Batrider is going to be left high and dry for some time. Yeah, they're going to put some stacks on presumably Doja. I'm just going to go with Doja for right now, and if that's not the case, so be it. Not a big deal. But he is on their roster, so that's what I'm going to go with. Either way, he does have 10 stacks of Magic Sticks, so although he has been forced back a bit, he's going to be able to CS rather effectively, and he will always be fine on health and mana with that Magic Stick continuously fueled by the Napalm. But Bounty Hunter just roaming around like crazy, popping off a Salve now and a Clarity. Not really doing too much beyond that. But he's just trying to get in a good position to do what he needs to do. I don't know. It's weird. He's trying to pull creeps. He's trying to roam around. He's just trying to find a safe place to maneuver and farm. But right now, with this positioning in the creep wave, with all this stacking action going from Rubik and a little bit of pulling, but more importantly, Markloff trying to control this creep equilibrium, he's kind of letting it go now, so it will clash up here, giving Bounty Hunter a little bit of experience. But where it was before it went underneath tower, was a great spot to make sure Bounty's zoned for experience, not able to get too much. You look at this, Keeper Light has 5 experience per minute intentionally, but Bounty Hunter only has 62, and he's trying to go for a solo lane, so that's a really big deal right here. But in the meantime, Bounty is low on mana, only 2 Shadow Walks left. Batrider, however, ganking on in, trying to do some damage to Markloff. The Janata, once he hit level 2, big deal, but that Telekinesis stun, going to make sure that there's not going to be too much coming of that. So, transition down, realized that Batrider couldn't hold 2 versus 1 in that situation there, especially when the Chaos Bolt went up to rank 2 and soon to be rank 3. But for the time being, just try to give presumably Winter a little bit of help on the bottom. He is now getting at least 1 CS there, but yeah, he's up to his 2nd. But other than that, he is having a hard time as far as experience goes. And it looks like Drunken and Doja are doing a good time, having a good time on the mid lane here. Bruno, realizing he has free farm, realizing that he has no contest in last hits, actually going up to 18 CS right now, means that he can go for a Midas straight up, has the Gloves of Haste, going to be building that into a Midas in no time at all, and that's going to help him out quite a bit. Pyrian Flax rotating in towards mid, but he is only level 2, so he won't be able to contribute all that much, but just wants to make sure that if they go for a dive, if they go to, do the Bolt, do the Gale, that he's going to be able to counter-initiate just a little bit there. However, the Radiant Wards see him coming, so walking on down, they know that he was in that general area, and is going to be able to respond in kind. So I can just imagine their voice right now, that they're going back and forth and just telling him where he needs to be at, but all in all, there's not really a great place for him to be. I mean, doing a little bit of stacking, great to start them off and allow them to farm up a little bit more aggressively later, but the double damage rune on top was going to give that away to CK. Should actually go contest it himself because he can actually Sandstorm out of the Chaos Bolt there. So he's just going to pick up the DD, not do too much with it, but at least deny it so that the enemy mid lane doesn't have control there. In the meantime, although I was talking about Bruno's farm and him having the Midas and only 350 gold, we also see Markelov doing very, very well for himself, sitting at 20 stacks of Necromaster right now, and that's actually him capped out for the time being. He could even be beyond that if he wanted more than the raises, but of course Shadow Raise being such a powerful skill to rank to either push aggressively or just harass the enemy down, doesn't really need to worry about it as long as he's staying on par with his charges. But one thing, he did go for the power charge really early. That's debatable as far as the best option. I mean, first of all, he can go for pretty much one of 3 different kinds of boots, but I really like to go for an early Boots of Travels in Shadow Fiend, just based on the fact that you get a lot of mobility to farm in each and every odd lane. Actually, Superion taking a lot of damage, presumably from the neutrals. No, I don't know what that came from, honestly. But not a big deal, one way or another. Shadow Fiend has opted for the treads, and that will give him some nice stats that he can toggle around. He can pop off turn it to intellect to cast more raises. He can go for agility for some more right-click damage, or strength to tank up just a little bit more. But all in all, it's not going to be that big a deal. I was going to say the mobility is really nice for him to set up raises as well as farm all over the map with that rank 4 raise, pretty much two-shotting a creep wave. But one way or another, it's a great for him to have this early farm and move towards that carry role, possibly going for maybe like a Drum Manta kind of build next, or could go for a BKB Blink Initiation. Really plenty of different options since Doja is not having a hard time on the lane either. So these two going pretty good. Actually, their net worth, or let's just look at their GPM, because net worth is a little bit skewed with things on the courier or things along those, or in the stash, things along those lines. So what we see right here, the GPM, we do see that there is 300 plus on both the Chaos Knight and the Shadow Fiend, and only Lifesteal right now competing in that regard. So until the Bounty Hunter can get some tracks up and start moving in towards a roaming, ganking, momentum type carry, I gotta say it's in favor of the Radiant for the time being, the European managers. But all that's about to change with the Midas picked up on Bruno. Gonna Midas up the melee creep here, get a little bit of bonus experience, but more importantly, get that cooldown rolling to keep the gold in his pocket. With that Bounty Hunter again off the lane, it's just very fearful of what's going on in the enemy jungle where they try to initiate on him. They don't have any wards. With all those good sentries, he does have 1 observer left. Possibly will put it up on the high ground here, but one way or another, he definitely needs to really just be very cautious. Does not want to feed that first blood, which is still on the table at almost 7 minutes into the game. So honestly, that's amazing, because Chaos Knight and Venomancer is an amazing kill lane, but Batrider wisely just opted to go for the jungle instead, stacking up the eastern camp here, the hard camp, and burning it down with Firefly and Napalm. So effective in that regard. And with that, I think Drunken should probably be transitioning in towards a push build, but again, opting for the Venomous Scale over the Plague Boards. We're seeing that so that he can go for kills and go for more burst damage, or damage over time for that matter, but the fact is he won't be able to push as hardcore with only rank 1 Plague Boards available, as well as no Basilius. So all in all, we're seeing a lot of pressure on the tier 1 bottom, and most likely with this Darkseer creep skipping past with the Stout Shield, that's going to drop down in just a moment's time. Really? Shuriken? Is that like a rank 1? That's a rank 3 Shuriken, so he's ranking up the Shuriken, but all in all, it's not going to be doing too much to deter Inmate from his current position here. It looks like Who's That Pokemon wants to go for the deny. Will he get it, though, with the Flame Break popping back? One more right click? No. Shadow Fiend, Markelov, going to snipe that up. Quite that's a little bit, for those who know his background, great. But I'm not sure what he thought he was doing there. Walking right back into the Ion Shell. I know he did get rank 1 vacuum back, but all in all, he just seemed to be in a bad position there. After the deny was gone, he should have just ran for the hills, and unfortunately just walked right back into them, not only giving the Shadow Fiend the last hit on the tower, but also giving Darkseer that first blood. Really losing a little bit of momentum right off the bat. But all in all, tier 1, all is not lost. Tier 1 is being pressured up on top. Bruno really wants his last hit, but Inmate here to try to stop him for the time being, committing a lot of mana to that vacuum though, and with one more right click, Lifestealer, Bruno gonna continue his just gold 3 advantage. Lolka, or could be going on Cyborg Mount right now with only 290 HP. Rank 3, he knows he's by himself practically, so Empyrean not close enough. Only rank 1 on the stun, but this Reality Rift should be enough to right click him on down. Now going for the Gale a little bit early though. Bruno in rage state won't be affected at all, but the Ion Shell will be enough to deter him and fall back from there. The Phantasm rank 1 popped off really early, level 6. You usually see much more in reality. You should generally see the common skill build of 4400 because the Phantasms aren't really that great until you get at least 1 point in crit. And also, of course, the Reality Rift being amazing for the range of initiation, as it goes all the way up to 700, and then, of course, Chaos Bolt being 4 seconds is really nice as well. So, opting for the Phantasm, it's good for pushing, but beyond that, it's not really good for getting the hero kills, which, honestly, generally haven't been on the board overall, so that's not really going to be that big a deal. But we do have a quick pause coming out, and a little bit of latency from Inmate, and hopefully they'll be getting on into it in just a sec. Okay, so who's that Pokemon is LD. See, that's the problem. Is they're like messing with me in the lobby. The first game, the gods said that he was LD, so 2/3 of the game I called him that because I obviously got to believe the guys who are telling me those answers. But you know, unfortunately, that's not the case, and that's why professionals are a little bit better because they're generally forced to maintain their actual signature, and people can actually know who they are. But these guys goofing around. It is a fun tournament, so not a big deal one way or another. Either way, it looks like Inmate is farming up those creeps aggressively. Bruno wants to go in on this. He pops off the open wounds rank 1, but the surge on out. Chaos Knight's not going to get locked down here. Darkseer taking some good right clicks from Cyborg, and now Pyrian goes in on Venomancer. They have the Poison Nova. Will they pop it off right here? They have the Gale as well. Rank 3 Gale could hit on all 3, but he's not going to cast anything. He's just going to keep walking, which, to me, you could have at least gotten some slow and damage, but they got to close the distance. They had treads on the Bounty Hunter. Sand King had that Burrow Strike coming up relatively soon anyways. So all in all, that was, unfortunate, but Venomancer gets dropped down for the first kill on the board for Beyond the Summit. So we see that picked up by Pyrian himself. So obviously Pyrian MVP, having the only kill in the game, and Rubik break the desk. I like to call him break the desktop, please, because he has just been locking down so many times. This is probably like his 4th disconnect this tournament. But overall, that's not too big a deal. We'll see him coming back in just a little bit. Anyways, Chaos Knight picking up a Drum of Endurance. I like it. It's good movement speed, good attack speed, sets up the Shadow Fiend to do that much more right-click damage, actually going for a Shadow Blade himself. But all in all, it's just a great, very powerful aura that'll put some presence in the middle of the team fight for sure. In the meantime, though, we're looking at net worth, and it's definitely Lifestealer up on top with that Midas giving him so much. He opted for Treads with that Glove of Haste, now going for the Armlet with the Helm of Iron Will. I mean, yeah, you could go Dominator, Lifesteal on Lifesteal, but it's probably going to be the Armlet. It just adds so much potential with the burst damage. The 25 strength, even if it's temporary, will be able to do a lot of physical right-click damage and give him a little bit of survivability with the fact that he can toggle it on and off. Now looking for some gank action on Lolka. They do have Pyrian Flax's Burrow at rank 2, but he really just wants to get level 5. So he's just going to track up the Rubik and kind of hold off him now. But they do have good Radiant Warding right here. Pretty much have a perfect idea of who is flanking up in this position here. And for that reason, just can control wherever they need to and fall back in the right position. Just having this awareness, look at the Radiant's vision in general. They know exactly what's going on with Cyborg's Mac position. Actually going to gank him up with this Ion Shell right here. If he doesn't fall back, he will get locked down. The Surge comes out, vacuuming him back. Rank 1 Gale barely clips him, and that's going to be a kill. Really, really nice play from between Inmate and Drunken. Both of them coordinating so effectively right there. Telekinesis for Pyrian Flax, getting a lot of right-click damage on in with that Chaos Bolt. Definitely locked down for a kill for the Darkseer as well. So 4-1, 2 supports picked off right off the bat, and I just love how they managed that right there. Infest on the Batrider, Agent 007 coming in towards the bottom, wants to gank up on Markelov with that lasso if they can close the distance, but for the time being, this tier 1 is going to be taking a lot of damage. Keeper looking for the Illuminate, rank 2 is available, so I will push them off the creep wave just a little bit, but I don't know if it will be enough to deter them fully. The creeps, melee creeps are gone, they're going to keep right-clicking. Now it's LD that wants to try to go for this deny right here. And with the Siege Creep, he can go for it right now, but unfortunately does not. So mistimes it a little bit, same with Keeper Light, and with that, they're not going to be able to bring him down. On bottom lane, though, what I was talking about before, it was a little bit of foreshadowing. The fact that the lifesteal was inside Agent 007 was completely underestimated by Shadow Fiend. Markelov has his Shadow Blade in the bank, but got picked off on the bottom lane, losing half his souls there. And he didn't have a point in Requiem just yet, even at level 9. I feel that, shoot, missing action on the mid lane. See Inmate actually getting a double kill, but he most likely will get dropped down right here. Spell Steal comes on out for a little bit of Illuminate action, but beyond that, really not too much retaliation. There was some track on the field, but all in all, it's going to be a pickoff of Darkseer and Chaos Knight for a trade of Sand King Bounty. So sorry I missed that. Was trying to go back over the previous kill, but all in all, the action is going to start picking up more and more. Now that the laning phase is broken down a little bit, the towers are dropping, just the tier 1 on mid and bottom, but BTS is going to want to start retaliating, trying to get some good initiation with the Burrow Strikes, get some gap closing with the track and the open wounds, and from there trying to get some big team fights with that Batrider. He is almost at that Blink Dagger, farming up so nicely in the jungle right here. He's going to take out a number of creeps, through this Firefly path and just be able to just burn them on down very effectively. So yeah, 007 going to pick up a blink, and he has the opportunity to initiate so very effectively right here. I really, really like it. So that is a really big pickup. It's going to change the game around a lot, because right now Radiant is totally, it has the favorable action right now. 3,000 gold advantage, and just a little bit as far as experience goes. Of course, BTS picking up a couple kills, especially that solo kill on the Shadow Fiend was really, really big. However, all in all, the Batrider can change things around very effectively once he picks up that blink, which is en route to him at this moment. So Drunken trying to keep the aggression rolling, but he doesn't have Gale mana just yet. We'll have it in a few seconds, and from there they can have a very effective gank going on, but smoked up for the time being. So what kind of detection is Radiant running? Right now, we actually see only sentries on the Rubik, which could be effective enough. With the Gale, with the Telekinesis, they could get what they need. How are they going to drop it down, though? Who's that Pokemon? LD, scouting him out, now looking for Purion. They're not going to be able to go for the Gale right here, though. They could, but for the time being, they're just kind of falling back, want to make sure they get a sure kill, rather than overextending themselves and walking into the opposition. As far as Radiant coverage, I gotta say, they're doing so well on wards. Even if it's just controlling the runes, it's not very diverse as far as warding goes, but it's nevertheless effective, especially since they have yet to be counter-warded. So that allows them to kind of have understanding of where the Dire are, and make sure that they're only engaging one person at a time. And so now they can continue to push, flank the gank, whatever they need to do. In the meantime, we do see Firefly picked up. Not really too much coming of that. Agent 007 just trying to make sure his farm stays on top of things, gets a little bit of durability so that when he initiates, he can be able to maneuver appropriately. I was talking about him maneuvering comparatively with Napalm, and actually a stun comes out on LD, but I don't think it's going to be much more than that, even with the track up. They have the sentry, but he's just a little bit too quick with that track movement speed. Anywho, they're going to put some pressure with the Ion Shell, but as I was saying, once Agent 007 gets that Force Staff, he's going to be able to blink in, lasso somebody up, and pull them out of in a terrible position. And right now we see, yet again, there is going to be Bruno inside that Batrider looking to do a really, really big gank, and I can't wait to see it. So yeah, using that blink, ready to rock and roll. Actually popping off the Invisron, which is great. Very fortuitous Invisron that they picked up on top, using it very effectively here, but Cyborg Matt in a bad spot. They pop off the vacuum to start things off. The Surge will come on through. There is no points in Mana Leak again. Is the Chaos Bolt going to lock? They do finally have Vision again, so putting them down 2 seconds. They're going to be able to Telekinesis on through that and finish the job. Nice Blinding Light for the time being, but it won't be enough for that Fade Bolt coming on through. Now, where is that Batrider? He is actually moving around through the river. Invis for the time being, but that's only going to be true for about 10 more seconds, so it has to pick their fight carefully, and they're looking at Markloff, but I don't believe they have detection. They must know he has a Shadow Blade. There's the dust. They have the dust, they pop the Firefly, Blink comes in, Lasso comes out, Bruno comes out of the Infest, and with that dust, it's a very secure kill. Didn't even need the dust, because honestly, he was in the fire and lassoed up the whole time, but nevertheless, a really effective gank, and gonna kind of stop the Radiant in their tracks. They were going to try to creep skip past the tower, farm up a little bit on towers and heroes. Now actually cutting off Bruno, though. I'm not sure if he can duel this out. He does have that armlet, a lot of damage coming on through, but of course there's 4 different heroes, so Rage is about to expire, and with that, most likely Bruno's chances of bringing him down. Mechanism pops off, 4-second Chaos Bolt, and that is going to be his death for sure. Trying to flame break him out, but Agent 007 is just going to have to walk away from here. Surge, Reality Rift, they're going to pick off, try to go for him, but he fireflies on to the north. Now there is a track, but it is sentryed out, and now the track is actually on the Bounty Hunter, so even outside that sentry, he's going to get locked down. A lot of gold for Chaos Knight right here. Looking for more. Reality Rift, rank 4, almost in range. Look at that movement speed advantage with the drum active. Holy crap, just burning him down. Cyborg is completely toast, and that is just huge, huge kills for the Radiant right here, especially with the track on the board. Triple kill for the Darkseer. Ion Shell chaosing most of that, but all in all, I gotta say, Doja's gotta be happy for how much gold he just got out of those kills there, not only for the assists, but also for the tracks that came on through. He's gonna be looking for his armlet or a Dominator of his own, and now they can push up on the tier 1, so really, really nice action from them. They just keep on going, and unfortunately, after the lasso was popped off to kill out Markloff, Agent 007 really couldn't contribute too much more, and that's kind of an unfortunate thing. Very cooldown base for the time being. Napalm's great, but you know, he's not survivable enough to duke it out against a potentially 4-second stun and 4 heroes on top of that. Saiyan King has that Arcane Boots. He will be able to pop off his stun more frequently than they'd like, and yeah, they're going to be able to bring down Break the Death Please easily with the damage that they've already put on out. So making sure that track isn't going to be doing more than revealing Batrider now, putting him in the grave and making him forget what he has learned. Pretty much like playing like Tempo Assassin. Keep those secrets out. Anyways, beyond that, Lifestealer, Bruno still farming very well. Net worth 7,200 because of that Midas. Been back-to-back on cooldown, got that through free farm, and he's doing really good, but the problem is he's the only one. The towers have been dropped down over and over for the Radiant, so we can see the gold graph right here, skyrocketing up towards 7,500 with, Lifestealer being the only one with the farm, and although he's the best hero for it, they still need a little bit more for Beyond the Summit in general. Bounty Hunter needs to be able to actually get in there, and he's looking for a drum in order to do that. Batrider wants either some survivability or more likely a Force Staff in order to stay on top of things. So that's really, really important for them. And of course, Sand King, when Pure Influx will pick up that Blink Dagger, it will take a while, but once he gets it, he will become a whole new hero with the potential to Epicenter and Blink on top of an already powerful initiation coming out of the Batrider there. In the meantime, though, Markelov has farmed up 113 CS. Shadowblade's on out of Agent 007 right at the last second, so really nice way to negate the potential of that lasso. Now Markelov coming on in, has the rank 2 Requiem, not going to be able to use it though, as he just walks away, but that Fireflight now completely wasted. And they're going to be looking to just continuously push, as they kind of have been all game long. Armlet soon to be available on Chaos Knight. Alright, so now we're looking for this tier 2 tower push. I don't know why they popped the surge right then, but well, he's just going to be able to run on around, do a bit of damage to the creeps, and they're going to be able to finish this off. They know there's not really too much to contest. In the meantime, I'm not sure. Agent 007 is trying to prevent the reinforcements from contributing too much to a push on the tier 3, but they're going to have to let the T2 fall while Bruno continues to farm up and while LD tries to get on top of things with phase boots. So more and more, we need Lifestealer to get big items if he's going to be able to team fight. If he gets stunned up by the Chaos Knight, if he can't be able to make a gigantic impact in that 6 seconds of rage, he's going to have a really hard time of things. Now, he does have a nice advantage of being able to avoid anything that is thrown at him while he's in rage, other than maybe a stolen lasso. The fact of the matter is, his rage only lasts so long, and as soon as that expires, he's not going to be able to contribute too much if the cooldowns are available. So with that, he has to use that time very effectively, and that's why he's building mostly damage for the time being. I mean, Armlet is great in both respects, but mostly you get it for the big damage, attack speed, and attack damage output that you can get there. So Mechanism almost finished on Cyborg. He's going to be able to right-click a couple down and, yeah, almost have that Mechanism intact. Comparing that to the status of the Radiant supports actually missing a kill. Chaos Knight on such low life went in. They popped the wall of replica, but they got 2. I'm sorry that I missed that one. They were kind of talking about stats a little bit, but it's kind of hard doing the solo cast and hitting up on everything one way or another. They committed a lot there. Popped off the replica. Used a Force Staff to initiate. I haven't seen a Force Staff in a Darkseer in a very long time. I've seen it before, but not recently whatsoever. I mean, the fact is, he has that surge to initiate. That's generally enough, but I really like in this case because you can Force Staff that Chaos Knight up to get that big range of initiation there. So you just have practically a Blink Dagger on that CK, which of course is a powerful disabler in his own right, and Mech is finished up on Coddle. But yeah, so they picked off the Sand King. He did not get that Epicenter, or maybe he did, and that's what almost brought down the CK, but one way or another he does survive to live another day. In the meantime, though, Batrider did not have that lasso available and just couldn't commit enough to it. So in the end, I just really like the positioning of Team Crab. The European managers able to counter-gank effectively on that bottom lane. Beyond that, I've kind of lost my train of thought of where... Oh, Radiant supports and how they're going as far as utility items. They have the drum up on the CK, but as far as like Venomancer, but they're not going to have a mech for a very long time, if at all. So one thing to keep in mind, like the pipe, like I said, with Nullfield, which is starting to be ranked up now, rank 1, going to be moving up towards some really good magic damage mitigation, 20%, which stacks multiplicatively. And then on top of that, they're going to have like the Pipe of Insight from the Venomancer, which will negate a lot of the damage from that Illuminate, and a little bit from that Epicenter as well, actually all of it, because it's only rank 1 FE for the time being. But one way or another, oh my gosh, sorry about that. There is a lot of action going on, and I'm trying to kind of balance out analysis as well as the quick little pickoffs here. But what we're seeing here is Bounty Hunter just gets completely annihilated. Now they go in for the initiation, and Rubik is going to drop really quickly. They're just out of position, getting picked off one by one right here with the Blink initiation. Bruno inside of the Batrider is enabling them to just bring down whoever they need to right off the bat. Gale comes out on Bruno. He doesn't have rage for 3 seconds, but with that, they're going to get probably double stun. No, the surge. 3 second stun on Lifestealer. He's not going to be able to armlet out of there. Nice little bit of damage, but they have detection. They're not going to be able to finish the job. Instead, killing up Pyrion, looking for 007. Going to finish that off with a Flame Break, actually helping them get in melee range, and with this 3 second cast bolt, that's going to be another kill on the board. So triple kill for Lolka or Doja. Going to be able to just completely annihilate them, and meanwhile Bounty Hunter LD hiding in base and just not being able to contribute too much to that at all. So really nice pickup right off the bat. The Bounty Hunter getting destroyed by the Rubik. I believe the Burrow Strike was instrumental in bringing that down, but it was a stolen Burrow Strike, and they were able to pick him off. Do they have detection? They must have had some kind of detect. I'm not sure of exactly what sort, but nevertheless, they were able to see the Sand King after that sandstorm went on through. All in all, though, good play in general by the Radiant, and they were able to pick off a number of kills in a team fight that generally wouldn't have gone their way if both sides had been equivalent. But I gotta say, the map control that they put out thus far with these wards, look at Radiant's vision right now. They have action on the bottom room covering up Roshan for the most part, other than smoke, of course. And then, of course, they have action, anything coming in towards the middle lane, coming in towards these Ancients. This is such a secure area for farm safely, but they're not even using it that way. They're going aggressive with it, and they can also just find anybody that's farming up on the hard camp to the east right here, which is pretty common given the team lineup that BTS. But he is going to blink in, pop off on Drunken, that lasso going on through. He does have Pipe. Will probably use it just to try to keep himself alive, but for the time being, there is retaliation coming on through. Bruno pops off his rage, his open wounds, trying to do a lot of damage to Inmate. The Wall of Replica will come on through. They'll just fall back from here. They don't have to fight this, but Pyrion wants some of this, popping off the Epicenter, getting stolen by the Break the Desk, and so Pyrion will get a little bit of damage from that Epicenter, but not too much. However, Break the Desk doesn't have a chance. He gets completely obliterated by Janata, and the Lifestealer now going toe-to-toe with them, popping off the Infestor, trying to get away with Keeper Light's very high base movement speed, but instead gets 4 seconds stun. Now going toe-to-toe with Chaos Knight, going to be able to bring him down with one more right click. No! A crit comes out. This Chaos Strike lands just barely to bring him down before he drops. So very, very lucky. 10% chance for that to happen. I mean, he did right click him a couple times there, but in the end, very, very fortunate, and they're able to get another 4-kill swing. Looking at the KDA, 9, 1, and 11 for the Darkseer. A lot of that was Iron Chill Chaos from early on, but we can just see the gigantic swing of 13,000, going to be even more with that tower kill. And of course, the same exact thing we're seeing with the experience. So we do have that Geometry Sight, which I thought was up. I knew they had a gem because of how they were sandstorming up, killing the Sandstormed Sand King right off the bat. But anyways, very high utility on Darkseer. I was saying that they weren't going to get a mech, but I was actually looking at the wrong two heroes. Rubik and Benno, common to generally pick it up, but Darkseer can't count him out. After picking up that Force Staff, he still had that mechanism available, so a lot of utility coming on through him. And of course the Geometry Sight, if he can survive through the team fights as he has, he can just deliver a lot of map control with not only the D-Ward potential, but also the aspect that they don't have to worry about Sandstorm or Bounty Hunter just catching them off guard when he is nearby. Now, looking more so at the GPM, we do have 505 on the Shadow Fiend there, and I love this Dire Ward. This is going to be able to give them a nice defensive position that is going to actually allow them to farm up on the top lane here. Once the wave gets pushed out just a little bit, they can actually feel relatively safe because, generally speaking, you can gank from this position here, but most people won't unless they have smoke, based on the fact that there's very commonly wards over here. But putting one in this position allows you to see anything coming from this direction, which is probably pretty commonplace since this lane is so frequently pushed up in that direction there. So the Dire defensive ward on the plateau seems impractical, and I mean, yeah, it could work over here too, but the fact that they have a Geometry Sight, you have to put some high ground wards up, and that is exactly what they have going on here. So effective enough, but now the Blink Initiation comes on Markloff, despite, they pop off the dust, despite the Shadow Blade, just going to burn him down, no problem at all, and that's going to make him losing a lot of souls right here. He's losing a lot of his momentum with those Necromastery charges, and that's a really, really big deal. So, very effective, and very necessary if they're going to be able to stay in this game here. Other than that, really, really just high potential for the team fight of Team Crab if they don't get picked off like that. If they go as 5, they can push down. They have pushed down every single tower, so they can contest Roshan right here. I think that should be their next course of action before Sand King is able to pick up a Blink Dagger, as Pyrion is just desperately trying to pick up on farm, but for the time being is just a little bit too far behind. Arcane Boots may be going for Magic Wand next just to try to survive, but all in all, the farm is definitely in the hands of the Radiant. Actually looking at a Heart going to be picked up on CK pretty soon, and that's going to be even more effective in what he's been doing. So yeah, Manta Style up on the Shadow Fiend, a Reaver up on the Chaos Knight, and the Rubik probably going to go for a BKB. That will allow him to make sure that if he does get Epicenter, he will be able to use it in its fullest by just being Force-staffed in by the Darkseer while channeling a BKB to Epicenter. There's really nothing they can do to combat that, since they're not going to actually commit a Flaming Lasso to a simple Rubik. I mean, it just seems like a complete waste, but the fact of the matter is that rank 2 Epi, once he starts channeling it, I mean, right now Pyrion sitting at level 9, which is pretty unfortunate for them. But once he gets to that rank 2 epi, it will be a force to, I won't say be reckoned with, but be aware of and respect to an extent. But that's why they picked up the pipe. They know that potential, and they're kind of throwing it back in the other direction. Now smoking up this ward, this dire ward, honestly, I could have seen it, so I think they're falling back from here, but able to rage out. Bruno, good reflexes, will avoid that Chaos Bolt, but the Reality Rift will come on through as soon as this expires, pulling him back in for the time being. A couple right clicks to vacuum back on in, and they're going to have to fight this here. Nice action from Sand King. Furion getting a nice epicenter, but Marklov doing so much in return with that Requiem. The pipe already popped off. Venomancer going to drop down to right clicks from Bruno, but from there, there's 3 down on the Dire and only 1 from the Radiant, so they're going to finish this off really nicely. Inmate surging on in, trying to get that last hit on Cyborg, will be able to do so, and with that 4-second stun on Bounty Hunter, going to get locked in as well, so that's a full team wipe right here, and they're going to turn this into a tower push, no problem at all. Just have to get this creep wave a little bit faster, maybe even just force staff them a little bit ahead to try to get them in the base and try to push down on this tower before any of the respawns come on through. Pyrion, again, low level, will respawn very, very quickly, but he can't do too much by himself.
Dire's bottom tower's getting the business.
So again, this is round 3 of the winner's bracket, so that means that they have the potential to move on to round 4, which, as far as I can recall, is going to be the semifinals, or, well, it's actually just the finals of the winner's bracket, which is the semifinals of the tournament to an extent. But anyways, we do see Pyrion popping off. Nope, Damage Sight, not going to help you out too much. Pops off a stun, but that's pretty much his last ditch effort. And in the end, it's going to be just teaching Rubik a little bit more. He's going to go in for one of his own on possibly the Bounty Hunter, but for the time being, they see the potential of the Batrider and just want to go for the racks and fall back from there. So they get the racks, the melee creeps will finish it off as they retreat from here. A couple of nice tracks out, keeping tabs on them, but beyond that, they're just going to have to try to make sure their base is actually working for them. Now, this game isn't necessarily over, but Beyond the Summit have a very, very substantial... Never mind, this game is quite literally over. I was going to say that they have potential to come back based on the fact that Lifestealer has a lot of... Like I said, he can't be disabled during Rage, but they're just seeing it, it's not happening. They lost the racks, they have such a gold and experience a disadvantage, and they're going to call it here. So, that was an interesting game. But all in all, it went to the Radiant. Just Team Crab or European managers did so much right here. Doing work, staying on top of things, and yeah, I really like this build from Darkseer. It was kind of innovative, kind of dynamic. I didn't expect it, but it panned out very effectively, using that Force Staff to help initiate that much more effectively. There he has Shadow Blade to help them close the distance. Chaos Knight, of course, like I said, having long Reality Rift range, but beyond that, I gotta say that the Force Staff allowed them to just close the distance just a little more for those long-range gales, vacuums, telekinesis, whatever they needed to do, control the position of the enemy, because that's essentially what Rubik and Darkseer do, and Chaos Knight for that matter as well. A little bit more randomness involved there, but all in all, I really like the strategy that they put out. They didn't really need an AoE-oriented lineup to make this happen. I mean, yes, again, the telekinesis is great for AoE, the Poison Nova and the Shadow Fiend also very, very effective in that regard, but they didn't really need to just limit themselves to, if we get a good vacuum, we win the fight. Gotta change this up real quick. As, of course, I'm currently solo casting, but we'll have Blightwind, my other co-caster, coming on in about an hour or so, so that'll be cool. But for the time being, just talking about this game, yeah, the fact is they didn't have to rely on big vacuums coming out of Inmate. Not that he didn't get good ones off, he set up his team very effectively there, but it wasn't 100%. If we get a good vacuum, we win. If we don't, we lose. They had great single target damage, great solo initiation. They could go for pretty powerful pickups. And what we saw out of the Radiant, the only thing they really had going for them was the Batrider and Lifestealer combo. Infesting inside that Blink Batrider was very, very powerful, and it set up Lifestealer to participate in 6 of their 10 kills, and Batrider participated in pretty much the same 6. But beyond that, the Sand King couldn't get off the ground, couldn't get the Blink Dagger they needed. Their lanes generally were a bit weaker, with the Batrider having to go to the bottom lane over and over to try to get LD a little bit more as far as experience goes, and of course just being forced back because you're up against a Chaos Knight Venom and you don't want to feed First Blood, so you have to watch yourself in that regard as well. So all those factors going on into it, I think they played a good game, but I definitely think the European managers deserve this spot in the finals of the winner bracket that we may be going on into. I'll talk with the admins and see who's going to be casting those up, as we generally try to make sure that each game, each of the English casters are going to be casting different games, just to give you guys as much content as possible. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed, this is Blazecasting. I myself am that, and of course this is broadcast it on twitch.tv/blazecasting, and I'm going to be uploading them to YouTube with the same / extension. So you can see that up in the top right. But other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I enjoyed this cast, I've enjoyed this game, and we'll be going on to another one in just a minute.